For months, astronomers believed they were simply watching another visitor from the darkness beyond our solar system. Night after night, telescopes followed a silent traveler gliding through space, an object unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. It was called Threeey Atlas, an interstellar wanderer that had crossed the freezing, endless gulf beyond the Milky Way before finally entering our cosmic neighborhood. At first, everything about its journey seemed extraordinary but understandable. Scientists expected that, after making its closest approach to the Sun, the mysterious visitor would continue its voyage back into the darkness. The world prepared to say goodbye. But before this mystery takes an astonishing turn, take a second to subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Your support allows us to continue bringing you the most fascinating stories from space, science, and beyond. Then everything changed. As Threeey Atlas moved toward solar conjunction, the point where it would disappear behind the Sun from Earth's perspective, observatories across the globe turned their instruments toward it one final time. Among them was Spain's powerful 2-meter twin telescope, which captured 159 detailed images of the object before it vanished behind the Sun. When astronomers examined those photographs, the room fell silent. Stretching from the object was a thin stream of material, but it wasn't pointing away from the Sun as every known comet's tail should. Instead, it extended directly toward the Sun itself. It seemed impossible. Every comet ever studied releases dust and gas that are pushed outward by solar radiation and the solar wind, creating a tail that always points away from the star. Yet Threeey Atlas appeared to be doing the exact opposite, as though it were resisting the Sun's influence instead of obeying it. Scientists immediately searched for mistakes in the observations, but there were none. The Hubble Space Telescope soon confirmed the strange phenomenon, and Hawaii's Keck Observatory independently detected the same diffuse glow extending sunward. The impossible had suddenly become real. To astronomers, it was the equivalent of watching smoke drift directly into the wind. The mystery deepened almost immediately. Researchers proposed that perhaps the strange material was somehow resistant to radiation pressure. Maybe it consisted of unknown elements or exotic alloys that reacted differently to sunlight than anything previously discovered. Others dared to consider an even more unsettling possibility. What if this wasn't a natural cometary tail at all? What if it was an emission, or even exhaust, produced by some controlled mechanism hidden inside the object? As additional observations poured in, the questions only multiplied. The measurements simply refused to agree with one another. Based on its trajectory, Threeey Atlas should have possessed significantly more mass than its motion suggested. In simple terms, the object behaved as though it were far lighter than it appeared to be. Its rotation created another puzzle. Instead of spinning rapidly like many small bodies traveling through space, Threeey Atlas completed one full rotation every 16 hours. Under ordinary circumstances, a rocky or icy object rotating so slowly should have shown signs of structural weakness or instability. Instead, it remained perfectly intact. One scientific explanation after another began falling apart. Eventually, several researchers proposed an entirely different idea. Perhaps Threeey Atlas wasn't solid at all. Tiny fluctuations in its reflected brightness hinted that the object might actually be hollow, a metallic shell drifting silently through interstellar space rather than a solid block of rock and ice. Spectral analysis added even more fuel to the debate. Its nickel and iron content appeared unusually high, exceeding what astronomers normally observe in either comets or asteroids within our own solar system. Mixed with traces of cyanide compounds, themselves uncommon in interstellar dust, The chemical signature seemed increasingly difficult to explain through conventional models of natural formation. The scientific community quickly became divided. Some believed an entirely new class of interstellar object had finally been discovered. Others wondered whether something far more extraordinary was unfolding. Could Threeey Atlas actually be artificial? As speculation spread, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb and his research team introduced a new framework to organize the growing mystery. They called it the Object of Extraterrestrial Probability Scale, or OEP scale. Inspired by the Torino scale used to evaluate asteroid threats, the system ranked interstellar visitors from level 0 to level 10, according to the number and significance of unexplained anomalies. A level 0 object represented something completely natural, such as 2I/Borisov. A level 10 would represent confirmed extraterrestrial technology, capable of changing humanity forever. After reviewing all available evidence, Loeb placed Threeey Atlas at level 4. He described it as an object displaying multiple persistent anomalies for which no satisfactory natural explanation had yet been found. According to the OEP model, that position placed Threeey Atlas within the category of potential technosignatures. Put another way, Loeb argued there was roughly a 40% possibility that the object's origin might not be natural. That single assessment spread across the world almost instantly. Within hours, scientists debated it in research institutions, journalists discussed it across international media, and millions of people argued about it online. Many astronomers dismissed the idea as highly speculative. Others couldn't ignore the similarities to the earlier controversy surrounding ʻOumuamua, another interstellar visitor that Avi Loeb had long argued deserved closer examination. Whether his conclusions were ultimately correct or not, one fact had become impossible to ignore. Threeey Atlas had transformed from a fascinating astronomical visitor into one of the greatest mysteries modern science had ever faced. Although many astronomers dismissed Avi Loeb's conclusions as little more than speculation, his earlier predictions about ʻOumuamua, the mysterious interstellar visitor that had sparked worldwide debate years before, suddenly carried new weight. Scientists who had once ignored his ideas found themselves asking an uncomfortable question. What if he had been right all along? If Threeey Atlas truly behaved the way the observations suggested, humanity might not simply be witnessing another wandering object from deep space. It could be looking at only the second confirmed interstellar visitor ever detected, and perhaps the first that had not been formed by nature, but constructed by intelligence. Then, just as global fascination reached its highest point, Threeey Atlas disappeared. It wasn't destroyed, it wasn't lost, it simply vanished from sight. As the object entered solar conjunction, it moved directly behind the Sun from Earth's perspective, becoming completely invisible to every telescope on the planet. It was as though the universe itself had lowered a curtain over the greatest astronomical mystery of the modern age. For weeks, observatories had nothing left to observe. Researchers could do little more than wait. At the same time, NASA struggled with funding delays, while the European Space Agency placed strict restrictions on newly collected data. The silence created a vacuum that was quickly filled with speculation. Every day, theories spread faster than facts, and the mystery only deepened. While the object remained hidden, astronomers turned to computer simulations. The models suggested that once Threeey Atlas emerged from behind the Sun, it would travel almost directly toward Jupiter's orbital path. The prediction was both exciting and unsettling. Although calculations showed there would be no collision, the object's path would bring it alarmingly close to several spacecraft already exploring the outer solar system, including ESA's JUICE mission and NASA's Europa Clipper. Both probes could potentially pass through the object's ion tail. For scientists, the opportunity was extraordinary. If the spacecraft encountered that material, they might finally obtain direct samples of the strange particles surrounding Threeey Atlas, or perhaps discover something even more remarkable. Some researchers believed the mysterious anti-correlated jet might reactivate as the object approached Jupiter, producing electromagnetic signatures unlike anything ever recorded. Others feared a far more unsettling possibility. What if, after emerging from behind the Sun, Threeey Atlas simply changed direction? If that happened, the consequences would extend far beyond astronomy. It would challenge the foundations of physics itself and force humanity to reconsider everything it believed about intelligence beyond Earth. Nearly 6 weeks passed before the waiting finally ended. As Threeey Atlas slowly emerged from behind the Sun, observatories across Earth, instruments orbiting in space, and even telescopes operating from the Moon all turned toward the precise coordinates where scientists expected it to appear. What they saw left even veteran astronomers speechless. Instead of fading after passing perihelion, as ordinary comets always do, Threeey Atlas appeared brighter than ever. Its increase in brightness wasn't small. Measurements showed that its albedo, the amount of sunlight reflected from its surface, had increased by nearly 400%. Its apparent magnitude exceeded every prediction produced by existing models. Somehow, the object was reflecting vastly more sunlight than its visible surface should have been capable of producing. The surprises continued. Infrared instruments revealed that its temperature had not increased, despite its recent. Instead, its thermal readings remained remarkably stable, as though something inside the object were actively regulating its heat, perfectly balancing the absorption and release of energy. Then, astronomers noticed something even stranger. The mysterious jet that had once extended toward the Sun had vanished completely. In its place appeared a narrow beam of faint ultraviolet radiation stretching sideways into deep space. Unlike the chaotic emissions normally produced by comets, this beam pulsed with astonishing regularity, steady, rhythmic, almost like the heartbeat of a living machine. Every major observatory immediately began recording the signal. It didn't take long for researchers to realize that the pulses were anything but random. Each burst repeated with perfect precision every 247 seconds. The timing never varied. It looked less like a natural process and more like a deliberate transmission. Within days, specialists from the European Southern Observatory and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology began analyzing the ultraviolet signal in greater detail. At first, the data appeared meaningless, a simple sequence of repeating bursts fluctuating between two different intensity levels. But after applying advanced frequency compression algorithms, one analyst noticed something remarkable. Hidden within the repeating pulses was a pattern that refused to behave like anything nature had ever produced. The analyst stared at the screen in disbelief. The strange pulses weren't random at all. As the data was arranged in order, an unmistakable pattern emerged. The signal followed prime numbers, the very mathematical sequence that researchers involved in SETI had long proposed as the simplest universal language an intelligent civilization could use to announce its existence. The transmission began with 2, then came 3, then 5, then 7, then 11. The sequence continued flawlessly for hours before returning to the beginning and repeating once again. For statisticians, the implications were staggering. The probability of such a perfectly ordered prime number sequence appearing naturally within fluctuating radiation was so incredibly small that it was considered practically impossible. Yet Threeey Atlas was producing the pattern with flawless precision. The discovery immediately divided the scientific world. NASA urged restraint, suggesting the sequence could simply be an unusual modulation caused by the object's complex rotational dynamics. Avi Loeb and his colleagues at Harvard saw something entirely different. To them, the mystery had crossed an invisible line. During a public statement, Loeb declared that this was no longer merely an astronomical event. It was a message. As debate intensified, independent observatories across the world, from Japan to Chile, carefully examined their own recordings. One after another, they confirmed exactly the same sequence. There was no observational error, no faulty instrument, no isolated mistake. Whatever Threeey Atlas truly was, it was no longer behaving like drifting debris or even a passive celestial body. It behaved like a system, a machine carrying out a coded protocol in direct response to its interaction with the Sun. And, more remarkably, it had started transmitting again. Determined to learn more, astronomers redirected the James Webb Space Telescope toward the mysterious visitor. Its instruments were recalibrated for hyperspectral imaging, allowing scientists to examine the object's surface with unprecedented precision. What Webb discovered stunned every research institution that received the data. Hidden beneath the reflective outer surface was an intricate geometric framework. Instead of chaotic fractures or random layers of rock, the telescope revealed an enormous lattice stretching beneath the crust. It consisted of perfectly repeating hexagonal plates arranged with mathematical precision around the object's rotational axis. Nothing about the structure resembled anything nature was known to create. Every hexagonal plate possessed exactly the same dimensions. Each reflected light in perfectly predictable intervals, producing patterns so precise that they resembled engineered components rather than geological formations. As Webb continued its analysis, the mystery deepened even further. The telescope indicated that the internal framework was composed of an extraordinarily conductive nickel-titanium alloy whose atomic purity exceeded anything ever discovered in naturally occurring materials. The conclusion was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Threeey Atlas wasn't simply unusual, it appeared engineered. Additional confirmation arrived quietly through spectroscopic observations made with JWST's NIR SPEC instrument. Researchers detected controlled polarization shifts across the object's outer layer, changes that suggested the surface was actively adjusting itself in real time to minimize reflected glare. This was no ordinary rock drifting through space. It appeared to be something designed to conceal itself, adapt to changing environments, and survive unimaginably long journeys through interstellar space. Yet one question echoed through laboratories across the world. If Threeey Atlas truly was some form of spacecraft, where was its pilot? No one had an answer. Then, on the very night the object reappeared, the mystery became even more extraordinary. Without warning, every rhythmic ultraviolet pulse suddenly stopped. For 12 long hours, Threeey Atlas became completely silent. No signal, no emission, no detectable activity of any kind. It was as though the object had entered a state of perfect dormancy. Then, at precisely 2:17 UTC, every observatory watching the object recorded the same astonishing event. Threeey Atlas changed direction. The shift measured only 0.09 degrees, almost too small to notice, but enough to transform every prediction scientists had made. This wasn't the result of solar radiation. It wasn't caused by gravity. It wasn't an accidental deflection. It was a deliberate course correction. Even more astonishing was the acceleration that followed. The object accelerated at roughly 14 meters per second squared, a rate far beyond anything cometary outgassing could possibly produce. Within minutes, observatories around the world began recalculating its future trajectory. The revised path showed that Threeey Atlas was leaving Jupiter behind and heading toward the heliopause, the distant boundary separating our solar system from interstellar space. But the direction wasn't random. When researchers overlaid the new course onto earlier observations, they made an unsettling discovery. Its outbound trajectory aligned almost perfectly with the path along which it had originally entered the solar system. It looked less like an object wandering through space and more like one returning home. Before disappearing into the darkness once again, Threeey Atlas transmitted one final ultraviolet pulse. Unlike the earlier signals, this one contained no repeating sequence. It was something entirely different, a single continuous beam. The final transmission was unlike anything astronomers had recorded before. Instead of another repeating sequence, Threeey Atlas released a single uninterrupted beam of ultraviolet radiation that continued for exactly 13 minutes and 37 seconds. The signal lasted just long enough for observatories around the world to capture it, analyze it, and preserve every fraction of a second for future study. At first glance, the beam appeared ordinary. Then scientists examined its spectrum. Hidden inside was a faint encoded signature, one that resembled structured binary information. If the evidence was correct, history had just crossed a line from which there was no return. For the first time, an interstellar object might not only have visited our solar system, it might have answered back. For days, research teams across the world worked around the clock, attempting to decode the mysterious transmission. Initially, every analysis produced the same disappointing result. The signal appeared to be nothing more than static, random fluctuations buried beneath overwhelming cosmic noise. Then, a team at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics tried something different. Using Fourier transformations to isolate the signal's hidden frequency harmonics, they began separating order from chaos. Slowly, the noise disappeared. What remained stunned everyone. The transmission wasn't random at all. It contained an intricate pattern of binary modulation so precise that no known natural process could easily explain it. Even more remarkable, the sequence repeated every 13 minutes and 37 seconds, exactly matching the duration of the original ultraviolet beam. It was as though time itself had become part of the message. The deeper scientists looked, the stranger the discovery became. The signal wasn't simply broadcasting information into space. It was reflecting information. It behaved like a mirror, responding specifically to the electromagnetic signatures of the instruments that were observing it. The implication was extraordinary. Threeey Atlas wasn't merely transmitting, it appeared to be listening. When researchers converted the binary data into a visual representation, the atmosphere inside the laboratory changed instantly. No one spoke. Displayed across the screen was an astonishing three-dimensional fractal,